Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel Legal Decipher. In the previous video, we have talked about Chapter 12 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. If you have not seen that video, you can go and check it. The link is in the description below. Today, we are going to talk about Chapter 13 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. We'll go through the chapter and try to understand how the criminal codes work and how the Criminal Procedure Code is followed. So if you are new here, you can like and subscribe to the channel to get the video notifications. So let's get started. So in this video we are going to talk about chapter 13, which deals with jurisdiction of the criminal courts in inquiries and trials. So this chapter basically explains us that what will be the jurisdiction of a criminal court when the criminal court is inquiring or conducting a trial. So section 177 talks about ordinary place of inquiry and trial. So for every offense that is ordinarily inquired into and tried will be inquired into or tried by a court within whose local jurisdiction it was committed. So the court having local jurisdiction will inquire into the matter or try such suit. Now section 178 says that place of inquiry or trial. So it mentions where the inquiry or trial will happen. So when it is uncertain in which of several local areas an offense was committed, so say for example the offense was committed in more than one places, so it was committed in several local areas, and where an offense is committed partly in one local area or partly in another, so the offense is divided into two parts. The entire offense is divided into two parts, and one part was committed in a certain place and the other part of such offense was committed in another area, or where an offense is a continuing one, so the offense has not stopped, it has continued and it is still continuing. And this kind of offenses, when it continues to be committed in more areas than one, say for example the offense started to commit in a particular local area, then that offense kept on continuing and the place of occurrence shifted from that area to another area, or where it consists of several acts done in different local areas. So the total offense is consisting of several small acts that were done at different local areas. So in all these cases where the place of occurrence is more than one, it may be inquired into or tried by any court having jurisdiction over such local areas. So any of the courts, if those places come under different courts jurisdictions, then any of those courts can have jurisdiction over that particular case. Now section 179 says that offense triable where act is done or consequence ensues. So when an act is an offense by reason of anything which has been done and a consequence arises out of it, then such offense may be inquired into or tried by a court within whose jurisdiction such thing has been done, and that court will try such offense. Now section 180 talks about place of trial where act is an offense by reason of relation to another offense. So say for example an act was done to commit an offense, so that act will also form a part of such offense. So due to that act forming a part of such offense, this act also comes within the purview of that offense. So in these cases, the first mentioned offense may be inquired into or tried by a court within whose local jurisdiction either act was done. So either of those two acts was done at a place of occurrence, and a magistrate has jurisdiction over that place of occurrence. So that magistrate will try such case where any either of this act was done. Now let's move on to section 181 that talks about place of trial in case of certain offenses. So in this section some particular offenses are mentioned about, and it is also specifiedly declared as to where the trial of such offenses will take place. So subsection 1 deals with an offense of being a thug or murder committed by a thug, or dacoity with murder, or belonging to a gang of dacoits, or escaping from custody, all these offences will be inquired into or tried by a court within whose local jurisdiction the offence was either committed or the accused person was found. So either the accused person has committed the crime under such jurisdiction, that magistrate will have the power to inquire into or try that matter, or if that person after committing the offence was found in another local jurisdiction of another magistrate, then that magistrate will also have the power to inquire into or try that matter. Now subsection 2 deals with offences of kidnapping or abduction. So in these offences, when a person who is found to commit such an offence may be inquired into or tried by a court within whose local jurisdiction the person was kidnapped or abducted, or was conveyed or concealed or detained. So either where the person who was kidnapped or abducted from a certain place, so that place will come under the jurisdiction of a magistrate, then that magistrate will have the power to inquire into the matter or try the matter, or the magistrate having local jurisdiction over the place where such kidnapped or abducted person was conveyed to or concealed or detained, that magistrate will also have the power to inquire or try into such case. Now both the magistrates will not conduct the case. We need to understand this, that either of the two magistrates would try those matters. Now let's move on to subsection 3. It says the offense of theft, extortion, robbery, etc. will be inquired into or tried by a court within whose local jurisdiction the offense was committed, or also that magistrate will have the power to try into or inquire into the matter where the stolen property, which is the subject matter of such offense, was possessed by any person committing it, or person who received or retained such property, knowing and having reason to believe it to be stolen property. So the person had knowledge about the property, that it is a stolen property. Now that person still received that property or detained that property into his custody, then such person would be residing in a particular place. That place will come under the jurisdiction of a magistrate, and that magistrate will also have the power to inquire into or try this case. Now subsection 4 says any offense of criminal misappropriation or criminal breach of trust. In these two offenses, then a magistrate who can inquire into or try this matter will be the magistrate of a local jurisdiction where the offense was committed, or the part of the property which is the subject matter of the offense was received or retained, or was required to be returned or accounted for. Okay, the same procedure. Now the subsection 5 says any offense which includes the possession of stolen property may be inquired into or tried by a magistrate within whose local jurisdiction the offense was committed, or the stolen property was possessed by any person who received or retained it having knowledge or believing it to be a stolen property. So after reading section 181, we came to know about the one common thing that is followed in every subsection, is that magistrate having local jurisdiction over the place of occurrence where the offense was committed will have the power to inquire into or try such matter, or the magistrate having jurisdiction over the area where such crime was continued will try into the matter or inquire into it. Let's move on to the next section, that is section 182, where it says offenses committed by letters, etc. So where an offense which includes cheating may, if the deception is practiced by means of letters or telecommunication messages. So when an offense is committed by practice of deception and by means of letters or telecommunication messages, that means emails or any other kind of electronic messages. So where an offense is committed by these means and it includes cheating, then the court that will have the jurisdiction to inquire into or try these matters will be those courts in whose local jurisdiction such letters or messages were either sent or received. So the court having jurisdiction over the place from which the letter or message was sent will also have the jurisdiction, and the court in whose jurisdiction the letter or electronic message was received will also have the jurisdiction to try into or inquire into such matter. And where the offense of cheating and dishonestly inducing delivery of property was done, then such matter will be inquired or tried by a court within whose local jurisdiction either the property was delivered by the person deceived or was received by the accused person. So, where the property was delivered from, the magistrate having the jurisdiction of that local area will also try into the case, or the magistrate having the local jurisdiction over a place where the property was received would also have the power to try or inquire into the matter. Now section 183 talks about offense committed on journey or voyage. So what happens if an offense is committed in between a journey or a voyage? Then the offense that is committed while the person or the thing that is the subject matter of the offense was in journey or voyage, then if the offense is committed during such journey or voyage, then the offense may be inquired into or tried by a court through or into whose local jurisdiction that person or thing passed in the course of that journey or voyage. So the journey or voyage is ongoing, and in between an offense is occurred. So the offense had to occur into some place. Such person or the thing against whom such offense was committed was passing through. The magistrate having the local jurisdiction of that area would be able to try into or inquire into such matter. Now, section 184 talks about place of trial for offences triable together. So, where there are more than one offence and all those offences are triable together, then what will be the place of trial regarding those offences? So, the offences committed by any person are such that they may be charged with and tried at one trial. So, if the offences that are committed by a person are of that kind of or that nature of offence that can be charged with and tried at one single trial, then each such offence by virtue of the provision of section 219, 20 or 21, or the offence or offences committed by several persons that are charged and tried together by the virtue of provisions of section 223, all these offences may be inquired into or tried by any court competent to inquire into or try any of the offences. So if the court is competent to try any of such offence, then the court will be considered to be competent to try all those offences. Now let's move on to section 185. It says power to order cases to be tried in different sessions division. So notwithstanding anything contained in the preceding provisions of this chapter, so those provisions will be followed. But irrespective of those provisions, if the state government may direct that any case or class of cases shall be committed for trial in any district that will be tried by a particular sessions division, then that will be done. But provided that such directions are not repugnant to directions previously issued by High Court or Supreme Court under the constitutions or under this code or any other law for the time being in force. So the order of the High Court and Supreme Court will prevail. Any other law for the time being in force and this criminal procedure code will be followed, it will prevail. And after that, if the state government directs, then this will also be followed, that a particular case or class of cases shall be committed to trial in a particular sessions division. Now section 186 talks about a contingency. It says the High Court to decide in case of doubt district where inquiry or trial shall take place. So where two or more courts have taken cognizance of the same offense and a question arises as to which of them ought to inquire into or try that offense. So if there is a situation that an offense has been taken cognizance by more than one court, so two or more courts have taken cognizance, in that case, who will decide such matter? Who will inquire into or try that offense? It says that if the courts are subordinate to the same high court, then that high court will take the matter into his own concern and inquire into or try that matter. Or if the courts are not subordinate to the same high court, then by the high court within whose local limits of appellate criminal jurisdiction the proceedings were first commenced. So the offense was committed in a particular place and that place would fall under the appellate criminal jurisdiction of a particular high court, then that high court will take the matter into his own concern and inquire into or try into that offense. When the courts that took up the cognizance of the same offense do not fall under the same high court. Okay. Now thereupon all the other proceedings in respect of that offense shall discontinue. So once the high court has taken the matter into his own concern, then thereupon all other proceedings that were running in the lower courts, the different lower courts, they will all be discontinued and the high court alone will decide the matter. Now section 187 talks about power to issue summons or warrant for offences committed beyond local jurisdiction. So this section talks about a contingency. It says, say for example, a person who comes under the local jurisdiction of a particular magistrate, but he has moved beyond the local jurisdiction of such magistrate, or he has moved beyond the territorial jurisdiction of India and has committed an offense thereby in that particular place. So if the magistrate believes that this person has committed an offense and it cannot be inquired into or tried into by that particular place, but it is somehow an offense under this law or any other law and it is triable in India, then such magistrate may inquire into the offense as if it had been committed within his local jurisdiction, and he will compel such person in the manner herein before provided, and he will make him appear before him and send such person to the magistrate having jurisdiction to inquire into or try such offense. So the person will not go unattended, he will be apprehended and he will be brought before such magistrate, and then he will be transferred to the magistrate who is competent to try such matter or inquire into such matter. And if the offense is not punishable with death or imprisonment for life and such person is ready and willing to give bail to the satisfaction of the magistrate under this section, then he will be released on a bond with or without sureties for his appearance before that magistrate having such jurisdiction. Now subsection 2 says, when there are more magistrates than one having such jurisdiction, then the magistrate acting under this section cannot satisfy himself as to which magistrate or to whom that person shall be sent or bound to appear. Then the case will be reported for further orders to the High Court. So when it is ambiguous as to which magistrate will have the jurisdiction of such person to try into or inquire that matter or furnish the bail bond or any other order that is necessary to pass against such person, then it will be referred to the High Court if it is ambiguous. Now section 188 talks about offense committed outside India. So when an offense is committed outside the Indian territory, then if such offense is committed by a citizen of India, whether on the high sea or elsewhere, or by a person not being such citizen on any ship or aircraft that is registered in India, then he may be dealt with in respect of such offense as if he had committed such offence at any place within the Indian territory at which he may be found, but provided that notwithstanding anything in any of the preceding sections of this chapter, no such offence shall be inquired into or tried in India except with the previous sanction of the central government. So the central government will allow such inquiry or trial, and only then such person will be tried. Now let's move on to the last section of this chapter. Section 189 says receipt of evidence relating to offences committed outside India. So when an offence has been committed in a territory that is outside India and it is being inquired into or tried under the provisions of section 188, then the central government may, if it thinks fit, direct that the copies of depositions that is made or exhibited shall be produced before a judicial officer in any of that territory or before any such diplomatic or consular representative of India in that territory, and it shall be received as evidence by the court who is holding such inquiry or trial, and such court might issue a commission for taking evidence as to matters to which such deposition or exhibit relates. So the court has the power to receive such evidence and hold a commission for taking evidence or depositions or exhibits that relate to that case. So that's all in this video. If you like my videos, then don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching this video.